Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for canceling dinner when my boyfriend brought a bell to the diner to grab the staff's attention? This might sound bad, but I don't know if I was the butt here.
I, a 30-year-old female, have been dating my boyfriend Red, a 31-year-old male, for 4 months. We live in different town and he's not from here. He's American living here. He usually visits on the weekends. This time I decided to visit his town and eat out at a diner.
Rhett was already there when I arrived to the diner. We talked some, checked the menu, then when it was time to order he pulled a small bell out of his jacket pocket, lifted it up, then started shaking it. It produced a loud, annoying sound. My ears started hurting. I was so confused I asked what he was doing and he said that he was trying to get one of the waiter staff's attention. I said it was embarrassing and he should stop right then, but he kept shaking it. I cannot begin to explain the looks we received from everyone. I demanded him to stop, but he said not until someone came and took our order. I threatened to leave the place and cancel dinner if he wouldn't, and he kept doing it. Someone came already, but I'd already gotten up, took my purse and started making my way out. He followed me and started arguing about walking out, but I told him that I couldn't take being embarrassed by him, and he got upset and said that he didn't get why I thought the bell was embarrassing, explained that it was a perfect solution for no longer be forced to wait till someone shows up. I asked if it was acceptable to do this in America and he said yes, because it's a free country and people there usually don't give a crap, but I said it's inappropriate and embarrassing here. He said I was being too sensitive and overreacted over nothing. He insisted we go back inside, but I refused. We ended up leaving. He kept on about how I ruined dinner by canceling it and offending him by acting like his behavior is shameful. I said I had a right to give an opinion on what he's done even if he thought what he was doing, but he basically told me to get off my high horse and stop calling his genius idea embarrassing. He's been sulking for days now and wanting an apology. Maybe I overreacted. Maybe it's nothing where he lives, but here it's just unacceptable. Reddit voted. You are not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for what I told my mother-in-law when she asked to be in the delivery room? My husband, a 33-year-old male, and I, a 30-year-old female, are expecting a baby boy. We're barely catching up with preparation and getting everything ready. His mom, kind of a busybody type but can be helpful at times, invited us for dinner and said she has an important request to make. She brought her request up at dinner table and blatantly said that she wanted to be in the delivery room with me when I give birth. I was taken back by her request. I really thought it had something to do with the nursery or diaper brand. I said I was sorry, but only my mom and my husband will be there. She made a face, got quiet for a while, then brought it up again. Just kept pushing, saying she is as much of a grandmother as my mom and that she just wanted to be there for support and get the opportunity to see her grandbaby's first moments. My husband sided with her. I just stared at her and said it's all right, you can have the opportunity to be in the delivery room when it's your son who's giving birth. Everyone stopped eating and my mother-in-law left the table in an instant. My husband had me got up, although I wasn't finished with dinner, but he said we should leave. In the car, he lost it on me, asking what brain cell made me think it was a good idea to tell his mom that. I told him his mom kept pushing after I'd already given her an answer. Still, he said this was the most effed up crap he heard me say. I replied that I was just frustrated and didn't mean to hurt her feelings and cause issues. He argued that if I don't want issues, then I should stop making crap difficult and just say yes to his mom's request. He then ranted about how it's his son too, and then said if his mom isn't allowed in there then he won't be there too. Now I don't know if he really meant this or just said it in the heat of the moment, but it had me fuming. He's been ignoring me when I try to talk to him and act like I'm not in the room. I think I might have gone too far and created tension by responding inappropriately. Am I the a-hole? There has been some tension between me, my husband, and his family lately. This probably blew up because of built-up resentment. Reddit voted. You are not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for ruining my wife's work and eating the food before she could take pictures of it? My wife runs a website dedicated for cooking and recipes. She takes pictures of food before we eat, whether it's lunch or dinner, and posts them on her Insta account. To be honest, I'm annoyed by having to wait so long for her to get the perfect shot of the food after decorating it, adding this fork and removing that salad dish. It just takes so long and I lose my appetite from just waiting till she's done. This has become the norm, but yesterday, I decided I was having none of it. I came to found that she has cooked an entire feast as her next cooking project and put it on the table. Note that by looking at the whole table setting, I figured pictures had already been taken, right? But no, she said she was going to take few pictures and I had to wait. She went upstairs to get her camera. That's when I grabbed the spoon and started filling my plate from every dish she's made and ruining the look as a result. I was hungry and unwilling to wait around for 10+ minutes to eat. She came downstairs, saw the damage and blew up almost crying, saying I just ruined her cooking project that she worked hours for as well as putting efforts into. I said I was hungry and couldn't wait, but she kept yelling how much of an obnoxious jerk I was for not waiting until she took pictures of the dishes she made, even said that this wasn't an MPT of me to sabotage her success. I said, oh please, enough with those conspiracy theories, I'm just hungry, and couldn't wait till she got the perfect shot. We had a big argument and she went upstairs crying. I finished my food, then went out to cool off a bit. When I returned, she'd threatened that she'll never have me eat anything she cooks and said she'd rather throw it in the garbage than give it to a ungrateful, obnoxious jerk like me. I said this wasn't cool, but she told me to go frick myself. I said fine, then went to spend the night in the guest room. She texted me the word jerk about 15 times till I turned my phone off. Today she has gone complete radio silence. Am I the a-hole? Reddit voted. You are the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my ex-husband's girlfriend a part of the inheritance? I'm a 58-year-old female who was married to a man for 16 years and we had a son. After my son was killed by a drunk driver, we couldn't support each other. We divorced 6 years ago. I moved to a different state and we haven't spoken since then. About a month ago I was contacted by the executor of his will and informed of his death. His latest will was written about a year ago. When I was informed that he left me everything, except for $10,000 that he left to his girlfriend. They were together for 2 years and lived in the same house. Now his girlfriend is demanding that I surrender all of the inheritance to her. She says that I wasn't the one that was there for him when he was drowning in his grief, that I moved on while he was still feeling guilt over the death of our son. I have refused so far, but I still feel a bit guilty since I am planning to sell the house, our marital house. I couldn't bear to stay in it after our son's death, so she will have to look for housing. She can't afford to, she doesn't have a job. Also, I make a good living and own a house outright, inherited from my parents. So am I the a-hole? Edit, since this seems like a frequent question, I offered her to stay at the house free of charge for the next 6 months before I put it on the market. Also, I offered her her choice of whatever she wants to take from my ex's personal effects and house furniture she wants to take. That and the continued use of the car. Reddit voted. You are not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for lashing out at my husband for using a picture of my son as his phone's home screen wallpaper? I got married to my husband 4 months ago. I have a 5-year-old son from my previous marriage and my husband adores him. We were out at the diner last night and I asked my husband for his phone to check payment options for our meal. I unlocked the screen and saw my son's pic set as the home screen wallpaper. I asked my husband how long it's been there and he said 2 months. I got upset and pointed out that it was not wise of him to use a pic of my son as his home screen wallpaper for strangers to see. He said pretty much, almost no one touches his phone, so I shouldn't worry about my son's pic seen by strangers. I told him they don't have to touch his phone to see his iPhone home screen. He said I should relax because it's not like he posted it on social media, and besides that he only used my son's pic as his home screen wallpaper to be able to look at him all the time because he misses him when he's at work. I demanded he remove it, but he said no. I insisted and an argument ensued to the point where I got up, paid my part of the bill, then walked out of the restaurant. He decided to stay at a hotel because he was overwhelmed and texted me about how deeply I hurt him and told me he removed the picture entirely from his phone if that would make me happy. Then went on to say I overreacted and by the looks of it, he's expecting an apology from me. After what happened? Was I the a-hole or was he? Reddit voted. You are the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for not allowing family to see my daughter until after they explain why she wet herself? My daughter is 7 and autistic, partially verbal. During high-stress situations she goes mute. Anyway, she went to my sister's house all happy on Friday. It was a whole family get-together. I had to run and deliver some packages. I was gone for like half an hour. Anyway, when I got back she was in different clothes and very clearly upset. I asked what happened and my sister told me she wet herself after she couldn't have a chocolate pop. Now, here's the thing with my girl, she would never wet herself purposefully. She has extreme anxiety surrounding her toileting, to the point of therapy. I don't know what this anxiety is caused by, but it's pretty severe. She was clearly very distressed, so I just took her home. In the car she broke down sobbing, but was unable to tell me what happened. As soon as we got home she took herself upstairs and put a pull-up on, pull-ups being accessible for her as a recommendation, so she has more control over herself, and has been super cuddly since. She hasn't been using her OB devices or signing at all. She has 2 therapists and she's due to see them both in the next week to see if they'll be able to help me understand what happened. Family have been awful. My sister, mainly, who is still claiming that she was being a brat and is doing this all for attention. I've since told every family member they will not be seeing her or me until the truth has been told. Which may be overkill, but I don't think my daughter would want to see anyone anyway. Obviously this has upset a lot of people, especially those who don't know what happened. I'm standing by my statement. If my sister won't tell me off her own back, pressure from other family members may help her along. I'm slightly concerned I'm being a major ass, though, to those who want to see her and now can. I'm starting to feel quite bad, despite having explained my situation in full. Am I the hash here? ETA, I am my daughter's father. Although I do appreciate the mama bear comments lol. Reddit voted. You are not. The a-hole. Am I the a-hole for blowing up at my wife for going to her gender reveal appointment without me? My wife and I are expecting our first baby together. We made an appointment to find out the gender of the baby. To me, this is very important. I had hopes for a boy. Unfortunately, the day of the doctor's appointment I had to attend my friend's birthday that I remembered last minute. I asked my wife if we could cancel the appointment and go another day, but she looked shocked that I even considered canceling the appointment and going to my friend's birthday. I said I had no choice. She said canceling the doctor's appointment was off the table because these appointments are restricted to specific time and date and we can't miss it, so she'll go alone. I told her no because that'd be selfish of her, and besides this will ruin the news of finding out if the baby is a boy or a girl. She cut the discussion and told me to go to the birthday party. I did, then later found out she didn't cancel the appointment and went with her mom. I came home seething and blew up at her. I started arguing with her about going behind my back and doing this without me. She said it wasn't her fault I prioritized a party over my child. I told her I didn't prioritize anything. She literally could have canceled and we would have went another day, but clearly, she was trying to steer the fight to a direction where I look like the neglectful and irresponsible one. We fought some, then she said I'm probably angry with her because it's a girl, but I responded that she was wrong. She went outside the room claiming I was stressing her out. Now acts like I owe her an apology on top of everything else, but I feel upset and like I was deceived by her. Am I the a-hole? Info, first off. Jesus, I swear I came here thinking I was somewhat justified in my frustration, but I was wrong it seems. Although I just want to point out that I did not just go to the party without telling my wife and having a discussion with her first. Also, the friend lives 2 hours away, so I had to leave at 2 and the appointment was at 4. I did not know she went, and I would have appreciated it if she at least was upfront with me about what she did. She could have said she was going anyway, but instead told me to go to the party and had me thinking she was going to cancel and reschedule. Edit for those who are speculating on the type of parent I am or will be really don't know enough to make those assumptions, so I'd appreciate it if you'd just focus on the conflict I just presented. Reddit voted. You are. The a-hole. Am I the a-hole for not wanting my husband to go see Batman when our baby is due? Me, a 25-year-old female, and my 28-year-old husband are expecting a baby. As you may know, there is a new Batman movie releasing on early March. My husband is a big fan of that kind of stuff and wants to see it opening day. The issue is that our estimated due date is exactly on that day. I know that only a fraction of babies are actually born on the exact due day, but I have always been very regular on my periods and I have a feeling that I may be one of those cases. He says it is important to see the movie the first day because of spoilers, and that, even I end up having the baby that day while he is watching the movie. At worst he would arrive a few hours late and is not such a big deal. He says I am being irrational and emotional because of being pregnant. I am upset because I feel deprioritized by him. Am I the a-hole? Reddit voted. You are not. The a-hole.
Am I, a 25-year-old female, the a-hole for having my 56-year-old uncle arrested?
So I moved into my apartment that I owned back in 2020. I keep to a very minimalist lifestyle, so I don't actually own very much at all, but what I do own, I like it to be a good investment for the long run. That's relevant for later. I ran into a plumbing issue that wasn't easy to fix, at least not for me who knows nothing about plumbing. I called my uncle asking if he could help. He came over with my aunt to take a look at what was going on, and I don't like her. There are quite a few reasons. She took my grandmother's ring despite it being willed to me. She pushes over people to get what she wants. She uses her mother's death as an excuse, always leaving out that her father and she were, according to those who knew them then, exceptionally cruel to the mother. My uncle used to be really great until she came along, now he bends to her every whim. I digress. She comes and complains that it looks like I am dirt poor. That I have minimal furnishings and that it looks uptight. I say I'd rather make memories than have stuff and leave it there. Then she notices my silver box I keep my sterling flatware in. Now, this is just me, I spent a good year or so saving money to buy nice flatware. My reasoning was it will grow in value, I can pass it along to my children and it will, or can, last a long time. She starts asking me what's in it and I brush her off. She keeps on, as she does, and I say it's heirlooms, not true, but still. She keeps on and I break saying it's flatware. She then asks me how many place settings and I say I can't remember. She goes on to say she has this small dinner party and can she borrow it, and I say no. She pouts the rest of the time. They leave with my uncle saying he needs a few tools and a specific part to fix my plumbing and he will come back later. I thank him and say bye. We arrange for about a week later for him to come back with a key I left in the lockbox since I would be working. I come home. I look around. My damn silver box is missing and I know exactly who it was. I call the police, I give all the information and show them photos I took for insurance. Long story short, my box was in their dining room when they showed up and my uncle is arrested for theft. My aunt keeps calling me, screeching at me that I am horrible for this and going to hell for giving him a criminal record. I say she should have thought about that before she made him do that, not being able to take no as an answer. The silver itself is a rarer pattern and not easily replaceable. She threw my comment back in my face saying, I thought you wanted memories? It's just stuff. I hung up on her. Here's where I think I am the ass. My uncle only did it because of my aunt, in my opinion. So I am effectively punishing someone who wouldn't have done it without the influence. Then I get mad all over again and think what a breach of trust it is and feel fine. Am I the a-hole? Reddit voted. You are not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for my response to my sister's boyfriend's brutal honesty? Me, a 35-year-old female sister, a 27-year-old, started dating one of those quote brutally honest guys few months ago. He can be quite rude and make backhanded comments about me and the family sometimes, which is bothersome, but my sister says he's not malicious but is just the brutally honest time and we should get used to it. I visited my parents' house to celebrate my sister's birthday and my husband couldn't come with me because he was busy. After the party we all sat down for dinner and my sister's boyfriend said it was weird that my husband and I don't have kids despite being married for 6 years now. I was shocked that he brought this up, but I gave a short answer stating that it's because of infertility issues. He asked on which side and I didn't want to answer, but my sister said it's on my side. I got uncomfortable as he looked at me for a second and said that maybe not having kids now is a good thing because he thought women over 30 might produce defective babies due to age. I told him it was none of his business, but he said that he was just giving his honest opinion and that's all. I, in return, told him while maintaining eye contact, trust me, if I wanted an a-hole's opinion, I would have farted. Literally everyone at the table burst into laughter and my sister and her boyfriend were stunned. Few seconds later her boyfriend excused himself out and my sister followed, then sent me a text after they left saying I was mean and disrespectful towards her boyfriend and insulted him maliciously just cause he stated his honest opinion. She also said I ruined her birthday by being petty and making her boyfriend the joke of the night in front of the family. I didn't respond, but she demanded an apology via mail as soon as possible. Mom agreed that I shouldn't have said what I said and should have just ignored him knowing how he is. I think I am the a-hole, but I'm not sure. Reddit voted. You are not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for hiding embarrassing notes in my house as a joke because I know my fiance's mom snoops? I bought a house 7 years ago and I met my fiance, Al, 4 years ago. This year he moved in. We're talking about making it a home for both of us. But as of now, he hasn't moved much stuff in. Right now 95% of the stuff and furniture in the house is mine. When his mom comes over, she's kind of a snoop. He was used to that, but when she comes to our house, it's so uncomfortable because she's just going through my stuff. When I am bothered, she's like I was just helping with chores, etc. He says I should just let her because she has a lot of nervous energy. One thing she snooped on was actually embarrassing. In my home office, I had a little affirmation post-it note on my monitor saying I am smart, I am skilled, I am deserving of great things. It was a silly thing my therapist recommended to get me in a confident mindset before an interview. Anyway, she made a comment too about my ego. But as a joke, I decided to do it again. I had my best friend over and we got wine drunk and wrote a bunch of affirmations to hide. Some were: medicine cabinet, my teeth will regrow. I am shark-like and powerful. Kitchen drawers, I know when to spoon, but I also know when to fork. I am sexy and self-assured. Work desk, I will not just frick my way to the top of the company, I will frick my way to the top of the world. Walk-in closet, I am beautiful with clothes and without. Especially without. My boobs are legendary. There were a bunch more, and my friend and I had a hilarious time writing them. Next time my mother-in-law came over, she saw a few. And she didn't acknowledge them to me, even though she definitely started acting a little weird about me. I went to run some errands, and when I was out, she confronted Al about the notes and was trying to tell him that I seemed unstable, egotistical, and moving in was a bad idea. She showed him the notes and he didn't really know what to make of it. He asked me and I said that they were just some silly private notes to boost my self-confidence and make myself laugh. How had she gotten them? Had she been going through my things? He said she was just tidying, and saw them. And they were real weird. I was like, have you met me? You should know how weird I am. Anyway, if you don't want your mom seeing my weird stuff, you've got to stop letting her go through my stuff. He asked if I left them on purpose to annoy her, and I admitted that was kind of the joke, but I also have other weird or private stuff, so what I said about her needing to stop snooping if she didn't want to find weird crap was still for real. He said I was making stuff hard for him. His mom was really protective and adjusting to him moving in with a girlfriend for the first time, and I was agitating her on purpose and making her think I wouldn't be a good partner, when he wanted her to have the opposite impression of me. Am I the a-hole for the note prank? Reddit voted. You are not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for tipping our waitress $20 despite her poor service, because my date was playing a game with her tips? I met a guy on a dating app, we hit it off and we arranged for our first date. Things were going well, we had sat down and had started some small chat. Our waitress comes over asking us what we want to order. I say what I want and gesture to him so he can order. He orders, then pulls what I think is about $15 on the table. He says, "This is your tip. Every time you mess up, I take some away." The waitress looked nervous immediately. I'm sitting there a bit shocked, but mostly embarrassed because I wasn't expecting this. She must have been new as well, because she did spill some drinks on our table that night, gave us the wrong food, and overall just seemed lost. He took away $13. I asked him why he thought doing tips this way was a good idea. He said it was the best way to ensure good service. When I disagreed, he said, "Can't always be nice to these people, it's not a respectable job." I decided then that I wanted nothing to do with him, and called the waitress over to get the bill. I slapped a $20 bill in her hand and got up to pay for my own meal. Later that night he had demanded to know why I had given her the tip despite her poor service, and I told him it's because he decided to treat her livelihood like it was a game. He said because of me she'll never improve her service and that I'm just a people pleaser. I blocked him, but I've wondered ever since if that was really the right thing to do. Am I the a-hole? Reddit voted. You are not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for bluntly telling a woman it's dangerous to put essential oils in sensitive areas? My uncle's new girlfriend came to family dinner the other night, and it was the first time anyone in my family met her. She is super into essential oils, which is very eye-roll-inducing for me, but I didn't say anything about it or show that I found it annoying at first. I bit my tongue while she went on about putting them in her water. You should not be ingesting essential oils, and rubbing them on pressure points and trying to convince my mom to buy some. But then she brought up that they can be super good for yeast infections. I looked at her super horrified and asked, "You mean you're putting them down there?" And she said, "Yes, you just insert a few drops and it clears up right away." I told her this was very dangerous and could cause chemical burns as well as throwing off your vaginal pH and potentially causing other infections. She said, "Oh no, you don't have to worry about that, they're all natural." To which I replied, "So is poison ivy, but I wouldn't suggest shoving it up your vagina." She just looked kind of shocked. My sister laughed and my aunt said, "Well, she has a point," but other family members said that it was rude and crass. Which I didn't think so, because she's the one who started talking about yeast infections at a family dinner. Certainly saying the word vagina is less crass than that. Reddit voted. You are not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for laughing hysterically after a date kept insisting to me that women have periods from their butts? Throwaway. There was this guy, a 22-year-old who a 20-year-old female have gone on a few dates with in the past couple of months. He's nice and so far we've only progressed to going on public dates, but about a week ago we finally decided to have a nice date at my place. Since it was going to be at my place, I let him know before that I was on my period because I wasn't sure what expectations he had or where his boundaries were yet, and we agreed to just have a nice takeout dinner and watch a movie. He comes over and we eat, then sit down on the couch to pick a movie. When he says that it sucked that I was on my period, then he said how he thought it was so strange that women give birth through the vagina but have periods from their butts. This was a completely unpromoted statement from him, and I'm still not sure how we got on the topic, to be honest. I asked him what he meant by that, and he said again exactly what he had said before. I kind of smiled, assuming he was very much just joking, and said, "Oh yeah, so weird," thinking that he was going to start laughing soon to end the joke. He didn't, and instead started to talk about his first and only girlfriend he'd had in high school and how she used to complain about bad period poops all the time. At this point I ask him if he is being serious, and he looks a little confused and says he is. I ask him to explain how he came to that conclusion, and he explained that his first experience being around periods was the high school girlfriend, and before then he had never received or seen much information. He understood it was something that happened inside the body and that blood came out somewhere, but assumed it came out of the vagina until he heard her complaining and realized it actually came out of the butt. It was very unexpected coming from a 22-year-old man. I somehow managed to keep my composure when I told him that periods do in fact come out of the vagina and not butts. He looked confused and then a little frustrated and started insisting to me that was wrong, and then kept saying, "Are you sure?" As if I was confused about where it came out of my own body. I explained to him the anatomy a bit and how it worked, but he was very adamant. Eventually he conceded that most women must have periods like that, but some, hence his ex-girlfriend, have their periods form their butts. He just could not understand, no matter how many times I tried to explain it to him, that he had just simply come to the wrong conclusion and misinterpreted his girlfriend's words. The whole situation became so much that I started to laugh. I was doubled over, clutching my stomach, crying, laughing over this whole debacle, and he sat there red-faced, continuing to try and argue with me. Eventually he said he was ready to leave and did before we could watch a movie. I felt bad for laughing after he left because I could tell that had been when he decided to leave, and he also texted me later that night to say he had done a little bit of research on his own and that he was no longer interested in pursuing any sort of relationship because he couldn't stand to be with someone who laughed at someone for not understanding. Am I the a-hole? Reddit voted. You are not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for ruining my work colleague's wedding and getting them arrested? The title sounds bad, but hear me out. A 38-year-old female had two work colleagues, Mary and Adam, both in their late 20s, early 30s. Mary started in the company first and then she got Adam to join. They worked in different departments and Mary was in mine. Later, Mary left the company to pursue another career. When they started at the company, they were already married for a few years. Now Mary is the kindest and loveliest person I've ever met. She was always polite, helpful, and would cheer anyone up. We missed her dearly. So it came to a shock when we found out she is divorcing Adam because he has cheated on her. I have called her to express how sorry I am that this has happened to her, and we were talking almost daily ever since. I was impressed how well Mary holds herself in such a situation. She wouldn't badmouth Adam, and the only thing she mentioned was how her wedding dress and a few family heirlooms went missing when she was moving her stuff from their apartment. She thought they might be misplaced in a different box and will turn up eventually. A few years passed. I now work in the same department as Adam. He is a good work colleague but can be dismissive and ignorant sometimes. Adam invited me to his wedding with the lady, Chelsea, he cheated on Mary with. As the entire department was invited, I said yes, making sure Mary is okay with this. I've also told her where the wedding will be. It's not too far from where she lives and we could go for some drinks after if she wanted to on the day of Adam's wedding. I have noticed that Chelsea is wearing a similar dress that Mary wore in the photos of hers and Adam's wedding years ago. So without thinking, I have snapped a picture and sent it to Mary with the caption saying, "Doesn't this dress look familiar?" Mary saw the message but she didn't respond, and about an hour later the police shown up at the venue. I need to add, the police in our country is ruthless and any theft is considered a criminal matter for the police to deal with. Police has asked Chelsea to take the dress and all the jewelry off. Chelsea refused and started arguing with them, and then Adam joined in. As they were rude to the police, they were taken to the police station. Everyone at the wedding had to leave. I have tried to call Mary but she wouldn't pick up the phone. As we found out later, Chelsea was wearing Mary's wedding dress and her heirlooms. Mary spotted them on her in the picture I sent to her and called the police. Apparently, she has previously asked Adam if he had them, and he declined, saying he never saw them. So after she saw the picture she knew he was lying and stole them. Chelsea had to leave the wedding dress and jewelry at the police station and go home wearing her underwear and Adam's jacket after they were bailed out. Yesterday Adam returned to the office and went completely mental at me, blaming me for sending a picture to Mary and ruining his wedding. He would also call me an a-hole for what I did. Reddit voted. You are not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband's female friend he might be your best friend but you're not his? Long story short, my husband has one of those female friends, I'll call her Sarah. Her and I get along fine, but every once in a while she'll make a comment or sit a little too close or touch him a lot, or compete with me on how close they are, or how well she knows him. She's one in a big group of about 11 friends. I've talked to my husband about her several times, but it's so many added up microactions that it's hard to tell her off for one singular thing, without looking crazy. Well, this past weekend, the group of friends got together for the first time since we're now all boosted. My husband and I eloped a few weeks ago, and this was the first time most were seeing us since. Sarah came right up and got in our face as the group was congratulating us to tell my husband how disappointed she was in him for not telling her about our ceremony, not inviting her, not even sending her a photo. He told her nobody except our parents knew, nobody was invited, and we don't have our professional photos back. This girl started sobbing. How could he do this to her? That she wanted him to be her man of honor when she gets married, she's single, and he didn't even invite her to his, and their friendship now needed some serious TLC to recover. This is in front of a whole group. I couldn't take it anymore and said he might be your best friend, but you're not his, and this was between me and him, you were not even a consideration. There were so frostios from the crowd and she left the house. The crowd is split. They were all my husband's friends before I came into the picture, and some think it was uncalled for and that I should have just let my husband handle it. I was mad in the moment, but now I don't know. Too far? TLDR, I told my husband's female friend she wasn't his best friend and embarrassed her in front of all her friends. Am I the a-hole? Reddit voted. You are not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for quote emasculating my husband and refusing to make my parents apologize for it? Me, a 28-year-old female, and my husband, a 29-year-old male, have been married for 5 years. My husband was a nurse until he told me he wanted to become a doctor. I was fully supportive, and he is now in his first year of medical school. I have been supporting the both of us as he cannot work while in school, but recently found out our rent was being raised by $500 at the end of our contract in April. This was honestly the last straw, as it pushed us past where we were financially comfortable, so I raised the idea of us buying a home. This had been a conversation for years, but my husband had always said we could after he had paid off his school debt from nursing, paid off early 2020. I asked my mother, real estate agent, who told me that with what we'd be paying, it would be better for that money to go towards mortgage repayments and not rent. I brought this all up to my husband, who shut it down almost immediately. He told me our agreement was to wait until he had paid off all his debt. I told him that was for nursing and that he was in school for 6 years, which was hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt, and some doctors don't pay off their debt for 20 plus years. I told him I had been supportive of this career change and by financially supporting the household, but that it was the best financial decision for us, but also relieved the financial burden for me. I brought up the savings we had for our deposit and how we could afford something small and modest within budget, but he told me it was in our interest to use that money to pay off his loans. I asked him if he realized the financial burden this would put on me, but he said it was temporary and eventually he'd make more than me, so it would be even, and I'd agreed to this. My mother called and asked if we were going to look into buying a house, but I told her we weren't and we'd be looking for somewhere cheaper to rent instead. She insisted we at least consider it because it made the most financial sense, and asked if it was because we didn't have a down deposit. I told her that we were probably going to use that to pay off my husband's debt, and he didn't want more debt until he was debt-free from student loans. Days later, my mother and father came for lunch and told us they had news. They offered to gift us the down deposit of a home. I was over the moon and shocked by the offer. Once they left, my husband exploded on me, claiming I emasculated him and made him look bad in front of my parents. I told him I never asked for this, but we should take it as it was a privilege most people don't get and would relieve so much financial burden on me. He refuses to talk to me or my parents until we apologize for shaming/emasculating him, but I refused to. I apologized but told him I wouldn't make my parents as they'd done nothing wrong. Am I the a-hole? Reddit voted. You are not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for laughing at my girlfriend because she texted her boss that she wished he was her dad? She started a new job about 6 months ago. She always talks about her boss. She has a good relationship with him and at the first great job she landed after leaving college. We were getting drunk and I was almost asleep when she texted her boss that she wished he had been her dad. She then realized what she had done and shook me awake and showed me the text. I couldn't stop myself from laughing loudly. Her boss saw the text and texted back, "Okay, thanks," and I saw that and I laughed again. We went to sleep and she woke up and apologized to him. She is very upset with me and she is even more embarrassed now. She is mortified about what he will think of her if even her own girlfriend laughed at her, and she said she hated how I reacted and it was not funny at all. I feel really guilty because I know that her relationship with her dad is terrible, and even if I was drunk I should have had the sense to not laugh like a child when she was showing me something like embarrassing. Am I the a-hole for continuing a lawsuit against someone's estate, knowing it will destroy their family? Between the ages of 12 to 17, my mother was moving me from one psychologist or therapist to another, claiming they weren't a good fit for me. I found out years after that she was offering them cash under the table to tell her what I was saying, and probe me on particular issues she had covered up, to determine how much I knew or suspected. When they refused, she switched them. I found out a few years ago that the last guy she took me to, ages 15 and a half onward, a psychiatrist she left me with for over a year, not only did take the extra money to tell her what I was sharing, which I already kinda knew, but the medication he put me on was at her request. There was no medical reason for me to be on any medication, and on top of that, the medication mix I was prescribed was a no-no to combine due to serious counteracting. The medication had a demonstratively harmful effect on my general health, with side effects I still suffer to this day. I lawyered up, gathered overwhelming and indisputable proof, and started the legal process to sue the living hell out of him. Realistically, conservatively we are looking at a mid-high seven figures amount. A few weeks ago, he had a heart attack and died. I ran into maybe was ambushed by his widow recently. She was remarkably collected, maybe numb, and informed me that she did not have the mental bandwidth to handle this lawsuit as she is grieving and taking care of the kids. 2 kids between 8 to 12 years old, I believe, as he was the sole breadwinner. She also let me know that they did not have the ability to pay out the amount the lawsuit would probably settle for, and she would have to drain college funds and sell their family house, cabin house, and a place that houses her parents, leaving them, herself, and the kids homeless. She begged me to accept a much lower settlement offer, and not rob her kids of not only their father but also their childhood home, all of their memories, and their future. Here's where I could be the a-hole. I told her no. Nothing else, looked in her eyes, and just said no. From what my lawyer advised me, you do not engage in conversations with people you are legally opposing. I started walking away, and she teared up, saying his heart attack was from the stress of the lawsuit, asking do I really want to punish little children for what their father did. I told her do not contact me again and got out of the store. Knowing their situation, I am now having a moral dilemma. Even at 7 figures, I will not miss this amount, but I could do good with it. I have also lost my father young, so I know how devastating it would be to lose my home as well. But as much sympathy as I have for his family, it is on my torment he had built their life. And not just mine, as we have discovered. My lawyer, fiancé, and family encourage me to let it play out. Am I the a-hole if I do not settle for less? Edit, won't his insurance cover this incident? Most medical malpractice policies do not cover liability that arises from criminal acts and inappropriate alteration of medical records, both of which he did and are included in the lawsuit. So his policy does not cover everything. Am I the a-hole for asking my aunt to take down pictures of me pre-transition? A 17-year-old male came out as a trans man when I was about 12 years old. My family has been for the most part supportive, so this is in no way anything against my aunt. She's not transphobic or anything, this disagreement was more on a matter of privacy. My aunt, a 41-year-old female, recently sent me a post from her Instagram, which has over 3,000 followers, since it's the account she uses to promote her music. The post was a picture of me and my little sister. My aunt wasn't in the picture at all. The picture is of me at around age 11 or 10 and my sister would have been 4 or 5. I told her that I appreciated the picture but that I was uncomfortable with having pre-transition photos of me floating around on Instagram, especially since she has a pretty large following in my opinion. I asked if she would archive the post, essentially putting it on private, so she can see it but the post isn't public. She got frustrated with me saying that it was a special memory for her and that it was an old post, but fine, I'll take it down. I thanked her for respecting this boundary and said that the memory was special to me too, but I still didn't feel comfortable having it be public. She left me on scene and hasn't talked to me in the past few days. I'm worried that I hurt her feelings, but I don't think it was an unreasonable request. Am I the a-hole? Would I be the a-hole if I asked my friend to take down a popular TikTok about me? A 22-year-old female went to visit my friend, a 22-year-old female from out of town, for a couple days, and the first night I was there she was trying to make dinner for everyone staying at her place. I'm allergic to dairy, and it's gotten severe in the past year or two, so the food she was planning on making I couldn't eat. She offered me this vegan dish she had made recently, but when I ate it we realized that she forgot she had put nuts in it, which I'm more aggressively allergic to than dairy. So I took some allergy pills, threw up for a while, and overall just felt miserable. It was a funny experience looking back, though, because of just the overall chaoticness of the night. But she, without asking or warning me, made a TikTok about the experience, but she not only tagged my TikTok but also said my real, super uncommon name in the video itself. The video has gotten really popular, which I'm happy for her because she's a great storyteller, but honestly I find it extremely embarrassing. For example, people in the comments are asking why we didn't go to the emergency room and her response was, well, she's poor and I know it's not a big deal, but I just feel like I'm getting made fun of, I guess. Like I seem really stupid. I don't know. It's bothering me a lot, but I don't know if I'm just being super sensitive. I've waited a couple days for it, try to let my feelings blow over, but it's still making me feel like an idiot. Would I be the a-hole if I asked her to take it down? Thank you for watching. Who do you think was the a-hole and who was not? Please like and subscribe and leave your comments in the section below.